All right, I would like to call this May 9th, 2022 Sylvania Board of Education meeting to order. Call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Here.
Ms. Huffman?
Here.
Mrs. Conklin?
Here.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Dr. Motley, we are with you.
Thank you, Mr. Feller. Good evening, everyone. Happy to provide a superintendent's report. I want to begin by saying I had a magnificent time recording the morning announcements over at Sylvan Elementary. I had such a blast. Actually, it was pre-recorded through Screencastify, and Andrea Hoffman, Ms. Hoffman, actually edited it and made it all nice, smooth, and pretty, and so the students had an opportunity to hear me do their weekly announcements. It was so much fun, so thank you for that opportunity to participate in the Sylvan announcements. Also, last week we had our strategic plan framing committee meeting, and it was a half-day session, and in fact, Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Conklin participated in that half-day event, so I don't want to steal their thunder when they report out for their board committee reports, but it was a team of about 10 or 12 of it. You sure want me to do it? Am I like, sure.
Tell them.
It was a team of about 10 to 12 of us in a room, and we really refined our language for mission, vision, and core beliefs for the district, and just finalized our goals, which were already underway. So we're excited to continue that work. We have action teams that are also up and running to put details, virtually, literally developing action steps for each year of our strategic plan. So we are continuing to move forward with that initiative. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending Mary Poppins, the musical at Southview, and Ms. Hoffman, her nephew, was actually in the play. It was fantastic, over the top, a great performance. They actually had a live dog in the performance. It behaved very well. It didn't run away. It was a very calm dog, but he was part of the whole cast, and that was very cool. I had a great time there. Also, last week we had several teachers. I want to say, Mr. Zeroff, maybe 30 teachers in this room who participated in dyslexia training for staff, which is really, the program is Wilson Reading Program, but we had a number of elementary teachers being trained here. For those of you that may already know or may not know, the state of Ohio has implemented legislation that requires many of our elementary teachers to become trained in a dyslexia program. As a district, we have chosen to go with a Wilson program, which is a nationally recognized reading program to help students that have reading challenges and reading difficulties. A shout out to Melissa Romero, who organized it. We had regular ed and special ed teachers participate, as well as our reading intervention teachers. So we are preparing and ramping up for the future legislation, and the good news is all of our students will benefit from this training. As teachers get trained, the instructional practice will improve, and it's research-based, and we'll be able to help more kids when they're being challenged by reading and learning how to read. On another note, I also would like to say that I attended some academic award assemblies. I tell you what, this is one of the best times of the school year. We really get to celebrate so many things that our students are doing. Last week, I know it was the Northview band that played at Bar 145. It was the jazz band, and although you would think, wait, what, Bar 145? It was a win-win. Our students had an opportunity to play in an authentic venue, and parents got to come out and have a really good time and eat and drink some beverages at a local establishment. So it was a win-win and a win. But I had a blast meeting with our parents and listening to our students. They were absolutely amazing. We've also had we had a senior academic awards meeting. We had some other we've just had awards. We have amazing students here in Sylvania. And this week we actually have the Superintendent's Art Show. So if you're out and about and able to stop by, please join us this Wednesday at the King Road Library, where we have the Superintendent's Art Show. I went to each building, each of our 12 buildings, and selected art pieces from all of our students, K through 12, for them to be on display. And thank you to Amy Addington. It's quite involved when you're picking up pieces of artwork and making sure that you return them the same way you receive them. Some pieces are very delicate, and for the last 2 years that we have gone through this process, it has rained. So you don't want to carry watercolors and pastels when it's raining, but she did a great job. She takes very good care of the work, but I'm excited about our families coming out and joining us. Each student will have a signed certificate because they had a piece of artwork selected for the event. And also, I've continued to meet monthly with our board meetings. I want our community to know, and everyone here tonight, that our board members are very busy and very dedicated and committed to Sylvania schools. I just met with Ms. Conklin this morning. I meet with each board member regularly, once a month, if possible, and sometimes more. We're in constant communication if it's a text message or a question. So they are hard at work for our community and our kids and our schools. So just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that it's a team approach, and these fine ladies and gentleman, are really dedicated to making decisions and working on the behalf of our students. So thank you to them. And that concludes my, I have one more superintendent's report item. Last Friday, we received a surprise gift from Mrs. Vani. She is an art teacher at Maplewood Elementary, and our 5th grade Panthers made these little clay smiley faces. Looks like it's leftover clay that she didn't want to get rid of, and some are this small, some are this big, but they're all different colors and painted differently, and they just have a little smile on them, and the purpose was just to smile or to provide kindness and a smile to our day. And so she put enough in there for every employee here at 4747 to get a little smiley face to put on their desk. So thank you to Mrs. Bonnie and our 5th grade Panthers over at Maplewood. It was so thoughtful. Again, just evidence of what wonderful staff we have here in our district. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. All right, up next we have a presentation on our athletic handbooks from our athletic directors.
Mr. Irwin, Mr. Huss, of course, sir.
All right.
Of course.
So, Mr. Huss and myself, we have spent, the last 4 months or so, 5 months, researching and then developing a Sylvania School Coaches Handbook that will kind of be instituted across both high schools, and hopefully maybe now junior highs can benefit from this. It's going to be a great hard copy tool that coaches are going to know expectations coming in. They're also going to, hopefully they'll answer questions. So we do preseason meetings, before every single season, whether it's fall, winter, or spring, with our coaches. We do have occasional coaches that may not make that meeting, but at least this hard copy will be really a reference for them to understand expectation. We probably have a job description, sorry to say this, Josh, for our coaches that dates back to maybe 2004, but a lot of that, what was in that job description, is in this handbook. So they'll know job description, and for us to put this on final forms, and we use final forms right now. Some of you parents are aware of what final forms is, where you have to go and check off that you understand certain policies, procedures, understand what concussion, things like that. Our coaches also are on final forms. We keep all their credentials housed there, so when something expires, whether it's first aid or the pupil activity permit, this is going to be another box they have to check that they've read and understand what our coaches handbook is each and every time, each and every year, I guess they would coach for us, in case we were to make additions or subtractions to that in the future. So the great part about this is that we've done a really good job making it universal. Even though we may do something a little bit different in each of our schools with regard to awards, it gives really a basic or generic, hey, this is, and these awards, the expectation of how you move forward, assessing or evaluating who gets an award. And the other piece is evaluation. This will be something that we use to then at the end of the season, as we evaluate just our head coaches, an opportunity to reflect back to that, and then when our head coaches evaluate their assistants, they can utilize this tool as well. And Jim's gonna highlight a few of the.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, at our preseason meetings, we've covered all of these topics, but now it's in writing. So even though we've covered it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's obvious to all the coaches. So, like Chris said, it's gonna be in final forms. We've had some issues at both schools, I would say, this year, but this will highlight things such as hazing, social media issues, communication with athletes and parents, and also drug testing of athletes. I get asked quite a bit from my coaches, what is the policy? And we've dealt with some issues there, but it's all right here. And probably should have started by asking, everyone has a copy of this, right?
It should have came home Friday.
It was on Soup Notes.
Yeah, soup
Okay.
notes, it was provided.
Okay, just want to make sure. So anyway, and it's
Saturday.
something that our coaches can reference throughout the year if they do have any questions. And then we also can use it as an evaluation piece at the end of the year, just to make sure that they are following all the items in the handbook.
Question.
Can I ask a couple? I think it's a great handbook. It's great clarity for the coaches, I think. I have a couple questions just from, actually, on the fundraising policy, which is page 15. I'm going to put this down for a second. There's a reference to, and I just want to understand how it works. Money's being deposited into the athletic boosters account, but then it talks about if it's a raffle type thing, it gets deposited into the,
Sure. I don't have it.
Sports booster.
yeah, what's the
So,
difference there?
At Southview, each sport has their own account.
Okay.
In the booster. Yeah.
So if it's like a car wash, does it not go into the sports booster account? It goes,
Yes.
so what's the difference between the raffle type fundraisers and like the car wash type fundraisers as far as where the money goes?
So we have a couple funders that have happened, and we're actually using hometown ticketing, which a lot of people are familiar with. So the money goes right into the booster Stripe account. So then they, again, to Jim's point, we've, over the last, we started this probably 8 years or so, maybe when Jim came on, where the money's housed down in the boosters, so that individual coaches don't have their own bank accounts and they have their own athletic accounts. So things that go into their accounts, whether it's fundraisers, it means taking the money that goes into our boosters and then divvy up into the specific
Okay.
booster accounts. Does that make sense?
But it kind of flows through into the individual sports
Yeah, so when
booster
you're selling
accounts?
raffle tickets,
Okay.
you're selling that kind of stuff, that goes into that Stripe through hometown ticketing. Now,
Okay.
other things, they go out and they sell discount cards, which
Yeah.
everyone here's probably bought 3 or 4 of them a year. That's not something that's a raffle or going through hometown ticketing. Kids just go out and sell those, and then that money gets deposited into the boosters. So it's
Okay.
separate than like a raffle or something.
So anything that's like raffle goes through hometown ticketing typically? Okay. And then I guess it's a question or maybe something we need to think about, Dr. Motley. It looks like the athletic events are going to be considered field trips under certain circumstances. And our field trip policy indicates that it needs to go before the board anytime they go out of state, which we have, like, cross-country has league meets that are in Michigan. I think we need to address the radius or look at maybe taking out the out-of-state limitation and keep it at an overnight limitation, because I don't think it would be feasible for, I mean, my personal experience are the running type sports, but there's a number of meets that occur in Michigan.
That's a good point, since we're so close. And it's not far enough where it would be considered an extended field trip because it's just over the border. Is that what you mean as well?
Well,
Or they're
even the
further?
ones that are in the Detroit area, I'm not sure, because it's not feasible necessarily to know who's going weeks in advance to these
Right.
meets.
And we can check our policy for extended and overnight to that point, because I know I want to check our organizational meeting and what that
Yeah,
looks
it's-
like in the organizational meeting, because my understanding, and I could have this confused.
It just
Janet,
says-
and if so, we can certainly readdress that, because there are times where you may qualify on a Tuesday and you got to go on a
Right.
Thursday, and we
Right.
won't have a board meeting.
Correct.
I know there is language, and I want to follow up with our organizational meeting, that I'm granted the ability in those circumstances where we can't convene, but again, that's during an organizational meeting. I'll need to check that.
And this just says the board shall approve those field trips or other district-sponsored trips which are planned to keep the students out of the district overnight or longer or out of state.
Yeah, and our out of state
I
is
mean,
different.
Yeah, we're talking,
We're on a
you know,
border.
2 miles away.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
Border.
any sense.
Yeah, that's a very good
Especially,
point, thank
Well,
you.
Our home golf courses are.
Correct.
in
Yeah,
Michigan.
I'm sure it doesn't
Point.
only affect cross-country. I'm sure
Well,
there's a
yeah.
lot of sports that are impacted
Cross-country
by
all
that.
meets in Michigan.
Yeah, half
That's a
the meets are
very good
probably in
catch.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if, to the extent that the field trip policy is being incorporated into this, I think we need to address the field trip policies.
I agree. I agree. Duly noted. Thank you. And gentlemen, I will speak to you about what that looks like so we can work together on what we want to do with that as far as those trips.
Yeah, we play a lot in Michigan. So.
Yeah, we need to change the policy. Do you have a date on that policy?
Yeah,
Jen?
it's 2013.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Sure.
Very good catch. All right.
Any other questions?
And then we'll change that in the athletic handbook. It's good. That's fantastic.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, now we are at the first opportunity for public participation for agenda items, and seeing none, Dr. Motley, we are back with you.
Thank you, Mr. Feller. Just to follow up with the athletic handbook, we wanted an opportunity to have a presentation and discuss it tonight. You will have additional time to review the handbook. We will ask you to board approve that at our next board meeting, just an FYI.
For that, the meeting that we will board approve it, will they be available for questions at
Sure.
that time, or?
Sure,
I mean, I suppose we could let you know if we need that.
but we still can have them available. That's not a problem. Absolutely. Making a note. Thank you. Moving on to superintendent items, I recommend item 5.1, which is an amendment to the 2022-2023 district calendar.
I'll move approval.
Good.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Quick question, what are the updates?
Mr. Ziroff?
You guys actually approved an amendment a few months ago because we had, January 2nd was a teacher collaboration day, but because New Year's Day falls on January 1st, which is a Sunday, that Monday then has to be the holiday. So we said, okay, that's easy. We'll give the day off to students and staff on the 2nd. We'll move the teacher collaboration day to another date. By doing that, though, our SCA contract says staff has to work 185 days. And essentially giving that day off made it 184 days. So looking it over, to get that 185th day, we would actually end on May 26th rather than May 25th next year. And then the teacher workday would be the Tuesday after Memorial Day on May 30th. So by following the holiday of January 1, we had to add another day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
I have a question. I have a question too.
yep.
Just, I don't know that it's for this, but with the primaries election last week and schools being in session, and I know we had a teacher collaboration day on Friday.
Yep.
Like in the future, can we look at that? Because then we have, I know there was a lot of confusion with,
Yeah,
the polling locations in our elementary schools.
You have board approved preliminarily the 23-24 calendar, but there'll be an amendment on that coming probably sooner than later where we'll move that teacher collaboration day. I think it's April 13th right now. We'll move it to the first Tuesday in May for the primary election in 2024. So that is on the agenda coming forward to make that change.
Perfect. Is there any chance we can talk to even the Board of Elections and see, like in Highland, why couldn't they be at St. Stephen's? That used to be a polling location.
It's a great
It's now
question.
one.
And I know that's been an ongoing question we've had with the Board of Elections, trying to get them to go elsewhere besides our buildings, but I think it's easiest for them just to say we're using seven schools and nothing you can do about it, basically. I've had a handful of conversations with them, even up to the night before the election, about
Yeah, me
some-
too.
Yeah, just even moving from like a gymnasium to a library to keep our kids safe, but it'll be a moot point if we just keep that Tuesday, a teacher collaboration day on the even numbered years.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Jeff, you call the roll?
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.2, which is the appointment of Carla Spangler as Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning. As you know, we tabled this last month, and we are pleased that we are removing interim. And she was more than comfortable and honestly was quite flattered by the board asking that we take interim off. She was quite flattered. So I recommend approval.
I'll move approval for item 5.2.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.3, the appointment of Melissa Tussing as Assistant Principal of Mccord Junior High. Melissa is here tonight with her building principal, her new building principal, Susie Felver, and just wanted to give everyone a little information about what Melissa brings to the table. First of all, Melissa graduated from Bowling Green State University. She has served as a math teacher at Southview High School for several years. Not only has she been a math teacher, Melissa has really made herself part of the Southview community as a learning institution and working with students. She's worked as a site coordinator for high schools that work. She served on the Schedule Revision Committee, the Standards Leadership Team, 21st Century Learning Leader. She's been on the District Salary Committee, on and on and on. So she has really provided herself with a number of experiences to prepare herself for this new role. And what I recall when we interviewed her, because she went through 2 interviews, her mother actually was a principal here in our district several years ago at Central Elementary, if I recall. So her roots run deep here in Sylvania, and we are glad to be able to offer her this opportunity. Susie, I don't know if you have words that you wanted to share as well before we have the board vote on her approval.
I told her she was gonna have to talk.
That's after they approve you, then you're not.
The Mccord staff is super excited. The committee was really impressed. I know personally from me having worked at Southview a handful of years ago, working with Melissa, incredibly confident, incredibly skilled and compassionate at building relationships with kids, which is so important, especially in this role. And I know that the Mccord family is really going to like her and benefit from having her on our team.
Outstanding. I think you've been here since 2005, correct?
Yeah, 17 years.
17 years, wow. Well, we're going to make it another 17 plus, just so you say. But that's a little bit about Melissa, and I recommend her contract for board approval.
I'll move approval.
She keep moving her.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I just want to say welcome. My daughter had you, and she absolutely loved you.
And I
So
absolutely love
I'm
Katie too.
super excited. So
Thank you.
congratulations. All right, Jeff, call the roll.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Congratulations. Welcome. All righty, moving on to item 5.4, a resolution for acceptance of the offer from ODOT. If you recall, we've been going around and around a little bit with the property over at Stranahan, and as Mr. Feller used his crystal ball and said that they would come back with an offer, you were correct. So this
didn't have a choice.
That's true. We weren't as confident, he was confident, so crystal ball there, you definitely knew what you were talking about. So I recommend item 5.4 for approval.
I'll move for approval item 5.4.
I'll second.
Any discussion? So will that'll cover replacing the fence, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it will.
Okay. Anything else? All
Can you
right,
tell
Jeff.
me the lottery numbers?
No.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.5, the approval of our 3 junior high student handbooks changes. These are the changes for your review and for your approval.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I got a question. So under the promotion policy, it says that students will advance to the next grade level regardless of GPA or class failures. And then it says, in cases where students fail a core class, we strongly recommend enrolling in the summer school. Obviously if somebody fails a class and then moves on, it's just going to get progressively harder. How does that work?
Mr. Zero?
Yeah, we have,
I'm not putting you on the spot, I thought you were gonna say something.
no, unless you have the right answer. I just know what the practice has been, and that is specifically for our 8th graders. If you have 3 out of 4 quarters that are an F, then we would push, highly recommend that they work in our summer school for credit recovery for those.
We can't require it though. I guess I'm just concerned about if a student's struggling already and then we promote them, obviously they're going to continue to struggle. And I don't want to put a student in a bad situation.
Technically and 100% legally, we can request to retain as much as possible. The parent's gonna have that right to promote until they get to that freshman year.
Okay.
And we run into this where then you have to earn those credits.
Mhm.
And if you've fallen enough behind and you're not gonna pass in a freshman English class, then that's where you will have to go
Okay.
to that credit
So we'll
recovery.
eventually catch up.
It will
Yeah,
eventually,
okay.
the
I got you.
accountability system eventually does catch up.
Okay.
Yes.
Greg, I think the fear, and this may put it in perspective, I had a lot of conversations in the elementary as well with 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, even in the junior high. The fear is when you retain a student, that what happens is later on in their career, they end up a 17-year-old sophomore or 16-year-old 8th grader, and what happens is the dropout rate really goes up. So what we try to do is they do move on, but they move on with interventions to try to help make that catch up.
Okay. Yeah, my main question was just like requiring summer school instead of suggesting, but I get it. Once they get to high school, they'll catch up. So,
Yes.
okay. All right. Is there any other discussion?
I had a comment from a community member with the language changing he/she to they. My explanation was that was just the wordsmithing that was done. This individual had concerns that it meant more than that.
Where is that in the
It's in the junior high one,
dress code?
in the dress code. Are we not on that one yet?
No,
Yeah, we are.
Uh-huh.
Where it was.
They just had some concerns that, are we leading to something else down the road? And my comment was that was just wordsmithing to revise the handbooks. Is there anything more to that? I said I would bring it up with the meeting.
Well, I don't see exactly where it is in here, whether it's wordsmithing.
It's
or
under
not,
illness, where a student is sent home, or if a student becomes ill, I don't have it right now either. that,
Oh, I see it.
Their parent would be called.
I think that's just a wordsmithing piece, but I will say, and we can talk more about this, we can do it now or at a later time, but in the world of transgender students and students who are transitioning, either male or female, based on their biological birth, gender, it is our obligation as a district. Again, legally, we can't out those students, so it is something where outing a student who may be transitioning from a male to a female and we say she and the parent doesn't know that, it's our obligation, again, as a district to protect that student. So we do kind of want to get out of using the specific pronouns and focus on your child, your student, they, things of that nature. I don't know if that's the case in this actual
Well, that was
policy change, but it's something that's based on, again, I've said it 3 times, I don't need to keep saying obligation, but it's our obligation as a district, it's our job to protect the student.
And that was my comment also. I said the word they is more inclusive
Correct.
of everyone.
Yep.
And that there was no hidden meaning behind that.
Sure.
Correct.
So, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
We do? Did we vote?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.6. These are the student handbook changes for the 22-23 school year for both Northview and Southview high school handbooks.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Are these published as one handbook for both high schools? I mean,
No, they each have their own handbook,
Okay.
but, and I appreciate it. The 3 junior highs and the 2 high schools combining together to keep everything as consistent as
Right.
possible. They will have different specifics for, obviously, the principal and assistant principal
Right.
are counselors and things of that nature, but the overall procedures are consistent for the
Okay.
2 separate handbooks, yes.
I guess one comment I had is, do we want to put, it said at the very beginning, it says page 4, lists the Board of Education, President, Vice President. That's going to change every year. I mean, is that something we want to put in the handbook, or can we just like reference the website? Because it changes all the time.
Yeah, because didn't we talk about this before, to just leave that off of everything and just list the board members? Because, you know, things change, and they don't have to worry about that every
So
year.
just list the members.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, 'cause
talked
you'll
about
all be
that, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe right when Vicky left and it changed, I don't know, we talked about it
we
at
can
some
take-
point, just
Ironic-
leaving
Ironically,
off.
ironically, with all due respect, Greg, they had Jill Johnson president and Kim Conklin.
Hey,
And I said, hey,
fine by me.
so we didn't have that. But I think that makes sense not to have.
Yeah, because the
It
president, vice
changes in
president
November.
will change every year.
I mean, in
Could.
January.
Yeah, every January that will change.
Okay,
Yeah, so it'll change midway through the school year, so it
Right,
doesn't make
yeah.
sense to have it there.
yeah, we can take those off.
Okay.
If you guys are okay approving it with that being taken off.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
So I think you have to don't you have to change the, like, motion to approve it with the changes?
Okay. I will rescind my previous motion and move to approve item 5.6 with the change that removes the officer designation from the board members.
Nicely
Second.
stated.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, Jeff, you want to call the roll?
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.7. These are the junior high school master course fees for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. Go ahead.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? I've got a quick question. So it looks like some of these 6th grade, 7th grade science things went from $23 to $9.50. Is that enough
Yeah.
to cover cost? Or
Yes, it is.
I guess
We
why is it?
actually, thanks to Josh and his team, the new curriculum we were looking to adopt, this one is expiring, our current science curriculum. So instead of purchasing a curriculum that doesn't align with the content standards in the state of Ohio, no science curriculum does, Josh and his team of teachers are writing their own
Oh, that's right.
curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys approved
Yep.
that for that money, but because of that, we don't have to purchase a workbook and all that through the publisher. We can just use kind of our own items, and Josh, you can expand on it if you want to, but it's gonna be a lot cheaper than spending $23 on a
Yeah.
workbook.
Okay, that's great.
Nice, yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All right, Jeff, call the roll.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.8, the approval of Northview High School master course fees for the upcoming school year.
I'll move for approval item 5.8.
I'll second.
Discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.9, Southview High School, 5.9, what did I say?
News.
News? Northview High School's master course fees scheduled for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll move
We'll
approval.
move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second. She's too late.
Yeah. All right, any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Well, that'll be good news for Southview. See how I tried to tie that in? No, never mind. Alrighty. Moving on to item 5.10, the elementary fees for the upcoming school year. I seek approval for those, please.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
And Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.11, career tech fees for the upcoming school year.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.12, a policy revision for a first read regarding our extracurricular and co-curricular drug testing policy and code of conduct.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Is this just a change
Just- I'm sorry.
who has to pay for a retest?
Yeah, that, any test that has adulterations to it is gonna be the responsibility of the parent to be retested. And then we also made a change to our consent form. On that consent form, the addition is that this form must be submitted by the end of the first week of school if you're a current student. Like, you can't sit and think about it, like, up until homecoming and say, I think I'll go to homecoming, here's my random student drug testing consent. And then also, for any newly enrolled students, they have 5 days to get it submitted, just so, one of those things, again, dances or somebody who may decide to start driving towards the end of school, whatever. We just want to, and again, this isn't a gotcha, it's not trying to get kids in trouble, it's a way to hopefully alter decisions they're making to stay involved in the privileges in our districts.
Is that something that happened? The people would turn in the forms right before events?
We did catch a loophole with that this year, that is correct. And it was nowhere stated in our policy, so that's why obviously we're gonna make that change as well.
Any other discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 5.13, a change in date for the November Board of Education meeting, and this is due to a conflict with Capitol Conference. We're recommending to change the meeting to November 7th.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin? Ms.
Yes.
Huffman?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now we are at human capital license. Mr. Taberski, repeat.
Mr. Feller, I'm asking for approval on consent agenda basis for items 6.1 through 6.6. 6.1 is unpaid leave of absence. 6.2 are new hire substitute teachers. 6.3 is a licensed staff increase in position. 6.4 is another list of licensed contract recommendations. 6.5, we have 2 licensed resignations. 6.6 is licensed extra duty. Okay, 6.7, I'm asking approval for consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.6.
I'll move approval on a consent agenda basis, item 6.1 through 6.6.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
All right. Classified.
Classified, I'm asking for approval on a consent agenda basis for items 7.1 through 7.8. 7.1 are classified resignations. 7.2 are classified personnel changes. 7.3 are classified unpaid leave. 7.4 are classified new hires. 7.5 are classified summer jumpstart positions. Those are our cafeteria folks for summer jumpstart. 7.6 are classified retirements. I'd like to thank Ruth Ann Bressler and Vicki Kuzno for their service to Sylvania schools. 7.7 is a classified termination. 7.8 are classified extra hours. And 7.9, I'm recommending board approval of consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.8.
I'll move
I'll move
approval.
approval on a consent agenda basis, items
She can't hear me.
7.1 through 7.8.
It's like the third time you've done that to me.
I can't hear you, and
I
you
know.
weren't saying anything.
I was, though. I was saying something. I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
All right, supplementals?
8 supplementals, I'm asking for approval on a consent agenda basis for items 8.1 and 8.2. 8.1 is a supplemental position for the current school year, 21-22. And 8.2 are the supplemental positions for next school year, 2022-2023.
I will move for approval on a consent agenda basis, items 8.1 to 8.2.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
All right, now we are at board committee reports. Kim, start with you.
As Dr. Motley said, we had the retreat last week with the group of people. What are we calling that team?
Oh, the framing team.
The framing team. And basically what we did was, from the retreat a month ago, where all the community leaders got together and every table, everybody wrote out visions and missions and goals and all these different kind of things, and belief statements. So what we did was, they literally put them all over the walls, and we took them all and kind of combined them into a coherent vision, mission, belief statement. And it was interesting because we had some very different opinions in the room, I think. But it's actually, I think you guys are going to be really pleased with the process. I was not skeptical about the process, I just didn't understand, how we were going to get to where we were going, and it's all coming together now, and I think it's going to be a very well thought out strategic plan, and I felt really good about our meeting.
Good.
Do you have anything to add?
I would just second what you said. I thought it was an interesting mix in terms of the smaller groups, and there was a lot of discussion and compromising, and in terms of understanding what the other individual was saying, if you perhaps didn't agree or wanted to add more to it, there was a lot of good discussion. And I was real happy with what we came up with too.
Yeah.
It ended up being actually an interesting and I thought kind of a fun meeting.
It was interesting too, because all the different statements that we took that had been submitted at the huge retreat, it was interesting to see just how much of the same, it said in different ways, but there was a very clear theme in a lot of, that we all want the same things, and see the priorities were there were not a lot of differences in priorities. It was a matter of differences in how we get to those priorities or how we describe those priorities.
them.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but there was a lot of there was a lot of cohesiveness in terms of what the people wanted to see the schools do. So that was good. That's all I have.
Great, thanks. I don't have anything. The only meeting I've had since our last meeting is Sage Yard. There was really nothing of note to report. Julie?
Nothing.
Jill?
I don't have anything new from
Okay.
last time.
Tammy?
No, nothing new.
All right, thank you. So next is the second opportunity for public participation for non-agenda items. And seeing none, I will move that we go into executive session for the purpose of compensation of an employee or official.
Thank you.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Mr. Feller?
Yes.
Mrs. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Yes.
And Ms. Huffman?
Yes.
And there will be no action taken after executive.